Oh, wow, they suck this year, don't they? 4-0
And that
to a
ends
team of 10
Auckland
players,
City's
guys.
Club
Like,
World Cup.
we wouldn't have done
We'll
that
have to
badly.
wonder
Like,
why
I
they
know
weren't
Freiburg are
just given
good,
the
but
cashmere
we would have at
technical.
least scored a
No
goal in the
goals,
tournament.
and it
They've done nothing this whole
mercifully
tournament.
over
Just
for us.
parked the
Back
bus,
of a 4
conceded 10
0 loss
goals,
to a
got
10-man
thrashed in 3
Freiburg
games.
outfit.
I'll tell
Let's
you what,
hope
I'm going
we'll
to
never
talk to
see this
Andrew
bunch of
before the
losers in
World
this
Cup
World
qualifying
Showbiz
final
ever again.
and try and sort this out because he's still ghosting me for some reason. He's going to have to talk to me when I go on international duty. But boy oh boy, Auckland City suck, don't they? The suckiest of the suckers.
Party in the streets and the city's on fire.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 91 of the New Zealand Builder Nation here on Shaun Does FM with both the All Whites and with Cashmere Technical. On the come up today, we've got a chance to lift the Southern League title with 4 games in hand as we take on Mosgiel from the GMP, and if we win that and get that trophy lift, I'll go forward and see if we play someone interesting in the next couple of rounds of the Chatham Cup, and as well as that quick All Whites update, and we'll see how Auckland City got on at the FIFA Club World Cup. So if you're looking forward to that coming up in today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. But yesterday we did take on Queenstown instead of going to the Club World Cup because I thought it might be a good bus trip. Wasn't actually that interesting, but if you missed that one, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. If I only play a couple of games off the back of that, but before we get stuck in what we've done here at Cashmere Technical, we did play a game with the All Whites. Not much writing on it because we're already qualified for the final of the OFC World Cup qualifiers, but did play Papua New Guinea. Actually a bit sloppy in this game, only winning it by 5 goals to 2. Chris Jones with a hat trick. They did come back a few times. Goals there to Alujo and Ilaani, but also goals to Lucas Kelly-Heald and a late one, a first one in New Zealand colours for Ollie McGoldrick, to be fair. Those were also Chris Jones's first goals in All Whites colours, and we pick up a 5-2 win. And as you can see, that sets up the final over 2 legs in September. Maybe that's something we come back for in tomorrow's episode alongside a game in the championship phase of the National League. But we're taking on Vanuatu in the final. They are down 151st in the world. Should be winning that pretty comfortably and booking our ticket to next year's FIFA World Cup. So we're doing quite well there with the All Whites, and also surprisingly, off the back of that win over Papua New Guinea, we've gone up the world rankings a little bit because we had dropped down to 39th, back up now to 37th. So don't ask me how we're going up the rankings these days. It's a bit confusing. We're actually going up them for beating Papua New Guinea, but not for beating teams like South Korea, which does seem a little bit weird, but anyway, in a good spot and should be making our way to the next FIFA World Cup, which is nice considering what just happened to us at Cashmere Technical, winning 4 straight Champions Leagues, 4 straight New Zealand titles, but Auckland City, they got to go to the FIFA Club World Cup, so it's time to look at how they got on at that tournament, which to be fair is still going on, at least in terms of the good teams in the later stages, but Auckland City, as you can see, they were awful, scored no goals, 10 conceded. It started off with a 3-0 loss to Man City, which to be fair, not too bad considering it's Manchester City. Then things get a little bit more embarrassing. 3-0 loss to the LA Galaxy before a 4-0 loss to Freiburg, who got a red card at the half-hour mark. So Auckland City couldn't score a goal. Why did they get sent there? I still don't know. As I said, I think I might have figured it out yesterday's episode, but haven't had the chance to sim for you. I'll do that when I get time, if I get time, because I'm a bit busy at the moment. But you can see there, LA Galaxy and Man City made their way out of that group. Auckland City may as well have sent us instead. At least, I'm pretty sure we would have scored a goal in one of those 3 games. So thankfully, Auckland City won't get too much prize money for those efforts over there at the Club World Cup over in China. And they came back and things didn't get any better for them. We'll just see if it still pops up here. Indeed it does. They backed up those 3 losses by losing to Western Springs in the 3rd round of the Chatham Cup. So that's one less big team we need to worry about in the cup competition. We'll see who's left a little bit later on in today's episode before we wrap things up. As I said, we'll probably play a few games off camera against some weaker opposition and just see if we get someone interesting in the next couple of rounds off the back of the fourth round, where we are going to be taking on the North End veterans. They are from, we'll just check this, up in Palmerston North. Should definitely be beating them. So we'll go forward a few rounds in that competition until we take on something interesting if we do. But we're going to focus here on a game where we could wrap up the Southern League. We've only played one game in that competition off the back of yesterday's episode. A 9-0 win over the Dunedin City Roars. One Carlos Castro, a young striker, free from the penalty spot, free from open play, picked up 6 overall, and also goals there to Jamie Young-Johnson and Tariq Nah. To be fair, a red card at the 35-minute mark to Dunedin did not help them out, but that still is a very good victory. Kevin Mina did get injured, thankfully already recovered from that, and off the back of that, very convincing wins over Christchurch-based opposition in the last couple of rounds of the Chatham Cup. 7-1 over Universities and 7-0 over Selwyn United, who do still have Daniel Azani at their club. I think I posted that on Twitter a while ago, not too sure if I mentioned it in a video. But yes, Selwyn United somehow did end up with Daniel Azani, albeit they are not playing him. But we are through safely to the fourth round of the Chatham Cup, unlike those big losers up at Auckland City. And a chance for us here to wrap up the Southern League title very early as we take on Mosgiel. Just one injury currently, Ahmed Shusha out with a twisted ankle, 12 days to 3 weeks. I say one injury alongside the big one to Henrik Fries, which did come through quite early on in the season. Coming back from recent injuries are a couple of our fringe players, but going to this game, we're going full strength. We're going to try and wrap up the title with a perfect record from our first 10 games. Mosgiel doing decently mid-table currently in the Southern League, but we're really a class above in the South Island currently. Hopefully that will continue. We'll come back shortly from the GMP, hopefully pick up a win and get a trophy lift. And who the team sheets for this clash, we could lift the Southern League title in terms of us. As I said before, first choice 11 and the bench as well is pretty strong actually. Forgot to mention Jordan Courtney Perkins has departed the club since you were last here. He made his way up to Eastern Suburbs, I believe. There were Mosgiel, should be beating him. Hopefully we get the job done and lift the title. And just past the 5-minute mark, first highlight of this game is now Faber here, a corner. We try and play that one into Tariq Nah, no foul. And Kingston here with a good chance for Mosgiel in the all-white on the counter-attack. But good work there from Xavier Smith to win that ball back for us. Plays it across to the Brazilian centre-back in Teo Demiro, and forward to the all-white in the squad today in Louis Evans. Of course, also Ollie McGoldrick, but only if there's injuries. Now Dosso makes his way down the right-hand side. We'll float this one far post. Looking there for Janssen. They hit it away, but thankfully Smith gets that ball back for us yet again. Plays into Clark yet again. A tackle. Doesn't win the ball, but Mosgiel, brief chance there to clear their lines. Don't do a good job. Goes out to Dosso down our right-hand side. He'll make his way forward. This time we'll try and hit a target. Can't. And again, Xavier Smith will recover the ball. So far in this highlight, our wingbacks are doing a very good job. Xavier Smith will pick up the assist. Castro from pretty much point-blank range continues that good form from the game against the Dunedin City Royals, and that gives us a nice early 1-0 lead, and hopefully will get us on our way here to yet another Southern League title. To be fair, probably going to happen anyway with the point advantage we've got, but we're off to a good start to make it 1-0 at the GMP. And only a couple minutes on from that opening goal, now it's a goal kick here to Mosgiel, and it looks like we're going to have to take this one short because we're going to put some good pressure on them here up front. Only their centre-backs who can receive that ball, and they're going to do a poor job there. Castro with a tackle on Clark. He passes it over to Tariq Nah. He'll pick up his 10th goal this season. That is some sloppy work from Mosgiel, but good from us, putting some pressure on them nice and high up the field, and we make the most of some pretty poor play from them there. I think that's School Potty who is on the ball. I think that's how you pronounce it anyway. We get it through Castro, goes to Clark. He finds Nah, bottom right corner to make it 2-0. And we've got until about halfway through the first half on the next highlight of this game, so things have slowed down off the back of those first two, which we did score. But again, we are on the ball here. Kevin Mina starts to cut inside, but Edwards on a yellow card. Good tackle there to win that ball off us. One more goal probably puts this game to bed. Mosgiel tried to pump that one deep, couldn't find a teammate, and we are back on the ball here. Tariq Nah plays that back to Sam Clark, quite instrumental in that second goal, which we did score. Now being forced to go back here just a little bit. Clark goes back to McGoldrick, and now we try and find some space there down our left-hand side through Xavier Smith, but Clark makes his way forward and now finds Smith. Nice ball in there for Castro, but that is a really good save from Kamara to keep it at 2-0. One more goal probably puts this game to bed, and Mosgiel will just be watching us lift the title later on. Probably going to be doing it anyway, but Teo Demiro from the corner misses the target. Still 2-0. And just inside the last 10 minutes of this first half, in the corner for us here, as I said, hopefully going to look for a third goal, but again, Teo Demiro though can't put that one on target. And we do see the goal kick off the back of that again. They take it short, but this time they pump it deep. Probably good idea considering how we did score that second one through Tariq Nara. Now going to look to make our way here out from the back, albeit already parked inside of the Mosgiel half meter there. 1-on-1 with Kamara, good chance for him, but unfortunately hits it straight at the goalkeeper. And looks like we might be going to half time here with only a 2-0 lead. Start to make our way into 3 minutes of added time. Olim Goldrick is on a yellow card, so might take him off here at half time, but everyone else out there is doing a decent job so far. Complete one-way traffic, and to be fair, we are matching our XG, so we'll just make our way here into the sheds, and as I said, probably good chance for us here to take off Ollie McGoldrick, make sure he doesn't get suspended before a Chatham Cup game, just in case we do get a decent opponent. Isaac Hughes will come on at halftime, but pretty happy with how this is going. 45 minutes until we should lift another Southern League title as we're 2-0 in front. And it's taken a little while for us to get the first highlight of the second half, and to be fair, it is in favour of Mosgiel, so a goal here would get them right back in this game, and maybe wouldn't be lifting the title on this day. And to be fair, that free kick from Jargon was pretty good, clips the crossbar before going out. Don't think Hawkins was getting to that one, but off the back of that, going to take off some players going a bit fairly, and also we'll take off Sam Clark being under 20, or Tristan Turner and Nathan Walker at left wing for Mina. As I said, not going too well today. With only 20 minutes left, we are still 2-0 in front. And almost inside the last 10 minutes of this game, and a late free kick for us here, and we go. Turner at the far post gets his head on the end of that one, but it comes off the woodworks. So still haven't quite put this game to bed, albeit Walker gets that ball back for us, but that is a poor one over the top. That one straight to the path of Kamara, and with 10 minutes left, still 2-0. We might go attacking just to see if we can get one more goal to put this game to bed inside of these last 10 minutes, but so far that has not been the case. But still, this is a good enough result for us to be winning the league. Teo Demiro still can't hit the target with those headers, so we are still only 2-0 in front, despite that late corner. 3 minutes of added time that second half, up to very little, which to be fair is happening quite a bit with us here at Cashmere Technical in the games we've played in the last little while. But there we go, on stage to lift up the Southern League title for, I think that is now a 5th season in a row, might even be a 6th, because the Southern League, we've been completely dominant in it since we've come here. Of course, the first season, National League, we lost the final to Auckland City, much like we did in the Champions League. But here comes the trophy lift at the GMP. We win the Southern League yet again off the back of a 2-0 win over Mosgiel. Will come back shortly, and hopefully off down an interesting game in the Chatham Cup. And it's taken a while. It's been nearly 2 months since we played that game over Mosgiel to lift the Southern League title, but thankfully have found something interesting in the Chatham Cup, albeit my face cam might be blocking it. As you can see, haven't played too much football in between now and then. 4 games, 2 in the Southern League and 2 in the Chatham Cup. 4-1 win over Ferrymead Bays, and most recently a warm-up to this Chatham Cup semi-final, a 7-1 win over Mosgiel away from home, even though Marcus Vinicius did get sent off for an elbow to the head quite early on, but Castro with a hat-trick, as well as Kevin Mina in between those games, with a pretty big gap in between them. Bet the North End veterans, as well as Parkland United in the Chatham Cup. That team these days is the home of one of our former AFC Auckland centre-backs in Finlander, but that does set up a semi-final where we're going to take on Wellington Olympic, and just like last season, one side of the draw does look a fair bit stronger than the other side, because Miramar Rangers will take on Waiheke United, probably for the privilege to lose to us in the Chatham Cup final. So an early taste here of some National League Championship action, as Wellington Olympic, they are currently second in the Central League, just 3 points behind Western Suburbs, but already booked to make their way through the championship, just like us. But before we get stuck into this game, as I mentioned earlier, Jordan Courtney-Perkins left the club before that first game that we played today. We have gone through a few months off the back of that, and in amongst that was the date when European clubs do release players. So because of that, we have done a little bit of transfer business. And here's what we have done. We did make a sale of Ahmed Schuster off the back of Jordan Courtney Perkins, as I said, going to Eastern Suburbs. He was on a non-contract, so they didn't have to pay anything for him. But Ahmed Schuster, a bid came in for him from the Redcliffe Waves. He was valued when he was here around £10,000. I thought getting about 25 for him was quite good value. As it turns out, he is valued a little bit higher than that. But Ahmed Schuster, he is off in Australia, of course, left wing, quite a strong position for us when everyone is fit. Henrik Fries, obviously out for this whole season, but also Kevin Mina and still here Matthew de Hotman de Villiers. So that is a strong position. Did think we could let go of the Egyptian. Never was really going to be good enough to feature for the All Whites. He's made his way over to the Redcliffe Waves, one of those teams who was in the A-League the first season that we were up at AFC Auckland. And we've brought in a few players on a free over on the left-hand side. First up, we've got Peter Ingolfsson. He's currently in our B team. Young 20-year-old ball-wing midfielder out of Iceland. So that's someone who could get called up in the future with a little bit of potential. Also, we brought in Gustavino, who is a striker, come right winger. We'll see if we use him, but to be fair, quite a bit of potential. He's down in the under-20s. Off the back of that, a few more players that might feature a bit more in the first team, albeit going to wait until off the back of this big game in the Chatham Cup semis. First up, Marco Barbato. He's Italian, formerly of Juventus. He was the replacement for Ahmed Schuster. Not that we really needed one, but is a little bit better than Matthew de Hotman de Villiers. So he can come in when we do need a replacement for Kevin Mina. Obviously, it won't hurt having a foreigner coming in for another foreigner, as long as they don't sit on the bench. As well as that, we've brought another player who could be first choice for us in Asane Diop. He's a left back though, and if we're going to start him over Xavier Smith, we'll have too many foreigners. This one might not have been the best idea, but certainly a left back with a fair bit of potential and current ability, also under 20, so thought that might be a good idea to pick up the former generation footman out of Senegal. And one last signing, this one should actually be a first teamer. Kennedy Mahamadou, we signed as an upgrade on Tariq Nah, 2 caps for the Cameroon international team, and he is formerly of Upper Years, 173 appearances for those guys, and scored 126 goals, can play all the positions across the front four. He should be quite a useful addition, but as I said, we will keep these players on ice, just let them gel in our last couple of games in the Southern League before using them against the big teams in the National League Championship. So a couple of transfers there, and also to get a boost up because of a sale of one of our former players that we got rid of with a percentage of next sale fee. I think it was Jose Pedro, who went somewhere in Europe for £800,000, I think, from the Central Coast Mariners. We had a percentage of next sale fee, so it did top up our transfer budget quite nicely by around about £150,000. So it does look quite nice over there at the moment, albeit I did slip a fair bit of that over into the scouting budget. We get that back up and running, considering we don't really have a scouting budget these days here at Cashmere Technicals. There's an update of what's been going on off the back of the first game we played in today's episode, but this is a big semi-final win this, and we should really be winning the Chatham Cup yet again, but it is going to be a tough one away from home as we take on Wellington Olympic. And here are the team sheets for this Chatham Cup semi-final. First up, Wellington Olympic coming to this one in some good form and are going with a 4-3-3. To be fair, no big scary names in that team, but there we are. Exactly the same starting lineup and bench as we had in that Mosgiel game. Hopefully can pick up a win. Should take us a long way to another Chatham Cup trophy. And just shot the 15-minute mark, we get the first highlight of this game. So far, stats-wise, definitely been the team on the front foot, but it's the first highlight we see. Wellington Olympic briefly there. We're on the attack in the all blue, but thankfully played a bit too deep there, and we can tidy things up down our left-hand side. Now, Teo DeMiro plays that one forward to Tariq Nah before it goes back for young Sam Clark. Back out there now to Nah, goes out right, cuts inside a little bit. Now, Castro plays it out there to Nah in a bit of space, squares it nicely, and returns the favour. And Juan Carlos Castro, that's already 29 goals this season for our young Ecuadorian striker, I think. He's definitely going to break that record that Kevin Mina set last season. Being under 20, he has got a lot of game time up front for us this season and has been a very good marksman for the most part. But that's good link-up play between him and Tariq Nah to make it 1-0. Fairly early in this game, you saw the stats there briefly. Definitely on the front foot before he prays a free kick to Olympic. Thankfully, Clark for Olympic just puts that one wide to still 1-0 in front, albeit right off the back of that, maybe a chance for us here to make it 2-0 on the attack, just outside of the final third, and now we're inside it. Dossau makes his way inside box, squares that one nicely for Tariq Nah. That one's gone a long way off target. I know it was from a tight angle, but still, that was a bit bad, but thankfully, still 1-0 in front. And pretty shortly off the back of that flurry of highlights before we made it 1-0, now we've got a corner here. Hopefully can pick up a cushion goal. Janssen puts this one into the mixer. Ledecker comes out to punch it clear, doesn't get there, and thankfully Teo DeMiro actually hits the target. Lots of chances before in that Mosgiel game. To be fair, has been 2 months since then, so it's been a while, but thankfully puts that one into an open net, and we're 2-0 in front in the Chatham Cup semi. And only a few minutes off back of that second goal, maybe a chance for us here to make it 3-0, albeit as I say that we lose the ball down our right-hand side. Olympic here start to make their way into our half relatively quickly. Dominic Lee plays that one back to Curdy, and now Manuel, nice ball over the top there, and Lee, far too much pace for our centre-backs, and puts that one past Hawkins. Good counter-attacking goal that from Wellington Olympic to get themselves right back in this game, and Dominic Lee will pick up a goal. Let's see what side of our defence this is. Our right-hand side. So unfortunately, Teo DeMiro there, not that quick, which is a bit surprising considering he's only 18 years old. We'll just check how his pace is. Yeah, not too great. So I suppose that makes sense. But Olympic right back in this one, only 2-1 behind. And it looks like that will do it for the first half. Things are definitely quieting down off the back of that goal, which Olympic did get back through Dominic Lee, thankfully. Before then, big mistake from the goalkeeper, which Teo DeMiro did make the most of in their first goal. Quite a good one link up there between Tariq Nah and Juan Carlos Castro. Going to make a sub at half-time. Xavier Smith going fairly on a 6.5, gives some game time to Leon Sutton. Doing well, capable of better. Is Olympic still in the semi-final? We are only 2-1 in front. And in fact, a very early highlight here in the second half. We briefly were in position there off of Olympic through Sam Clark, but unfortunately goes back to the Fleming. That might be a former player for a youth intake from AFC Auckland. Not too sure, because it has been a little while now since we've been up there at the blue and whites, but they do keep the ball here to Olympic, trying to grab an equaliser early in the second half. Long range for that from Morgan, to be fair, wasn't too far away from nestling just inside of that top right corner. I think Hawkins might have had it covered. But another highlight here in Olympic. They are on the attack, so maybe got some momentum off back of that goal to Dominic Lee, albeit these days that was a little while ago. Tonga there with a header, and thankfully that one just clips the corner of the crossbar. So Olympic going quite close here, but thankfully we still just cling on to our 2-1 lead. We're going to try and make our way out from back here from the goal kick off the back of that, taking our time as McGoldrick eventually plays that one to Sutton. Thankfully, that ball finds the mark in Lorenzo Janssen. Now Evans, he is on the ball, plays it forward to Clark yet again, and back out we go. Down our left to Leon Sutton, the sole change at halftime. McGoldrick yet again goes forward to Clark. That's pretty much what's been happening so far this entire highlight since the goal kick. Eventually go midfield to Evans, but now we go back to Teo DeMiro. Finally, start to camp inside of the Olympic half, but this one is a long, slow burner. Hopefully that might mean it will be a goal. That's a lovely ball over the top there too for Castro, who's been slow clinical this season, but that is a shocking effort, and we're still only 2-1 in front. In fact, as I'm trying to wrap things up, yet another highlight here, and Wellington Olympic will pump that one deep, but Teo DeMiro is there to tidy things up. Clark plays that for Janssen before yet again we go back to Ollie McGoldrick, and again he'll pick out Clark this time. Nice ball over the top for Tariq. Now that's a wonderful square for Castro, who's gone a bit Darwin Núñez, because that one hits the woodwork. Somehow, still only 1 goal in front. And just about to make our way into the last 15 minutes of this game, just realised before I was pretty harsh on Darwin Núñez. There's a lot worse strikers in the world out there than him, but Kevin Mina is down to red heart, so Nathan Walker can come on for him. While we're here, may as well make our last sub as well. Tristan Turner looks like he's in need of a game time more than our other 2 substitutes, so I think we might again take off Sam Clark. Similar subs to that previous game against Mosgiel. Still only 1 goal in front with 15 minutes left. And those changes so far haven't done too much, but about to make our way into the last 5 minutes of this game, and I think now is the time for us, once I click on the right buttons, start time wasting a little bit, also be more disciplined. We'll slow the pace down, distribute to fullbacks, and may as well also drop back to a standard defensive line. So the second half, thankfully, calmed down a bit off the back of those early chances the Olympic were getting. To be fair, off the back of that Castro really should have put one of those 2 away off the back of that, but thankfully we're going through to another Chatham Cup final off the back of a 2-1 win. As I said, probably should have scored a third goal based on those stats, but it doesn't matter. We're going through to the final, and considering who was on the other side of the draw, should really be lifting the Chatham Cup in back-to-back seasons. So it took a little while there before we got an interesting game for that second one of today's episode, but thankfully just do enough there to beat Wellington Olympic, and that does mean we are through to the Chatham Cup final, and we will be taking on, once I click on the right button, Miramar Rangers, who did beat Waiheke United 4-2 from memory, but we took those guys on in an episode last year in the Chatham Cup on our way to the final and beat them pretty comprehensively, so I think that should be nice easy work for us in that final. We'll see if we come back for that in tomorrow's episode, or if we do something in the championship phase of the National League, or show you guys a bit of that World Cup qualifying final with the All Whites down here in Oceania. But that will do it for today's episode. Wrapped up the Southern League, winning that with a couple of games in hand, and should really be picking up another trophy in the Chatham Cup off the back of that win over Wellington Olympic in the semis. If you enjoyed today's episode, which also included a couple of transfers and Auckland City being rubbish, not even just the Club World Cup, but also in the Chatham Cup, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. As I said, tomorrow we'll probably come back, do a little bit of All Whites, a little bit of Kashmir, probably National League Championship, and one leg of that FIFA World Cup qualifying final, seeing as we should really deal to Vanuatu in the first league, especially at Eden Park, and put that one to bed. So until tomorrow for those games, thank you very much for watching, keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.